Hello everyone, welcome to Ron's Rules, our 2017 computer training series. Today we're going to talk about Ron's Rules and how to help minimize computer problems. It's going to be a 12-part training series with myself, Ron Verhage, with John Cates and Fernando Crespo O'Neill of Seriously Smart Technologies. So in January, which is today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the introducing the whole series, which is going to be today's video as well as 11 additional videos spanning the whole year of 2017. We're going to be offering this computer training for the reason of sharing with you a lot of details about how to properly care for your computers, both from an exterior and an interior perspective. So we're going to talk about software, we're going to talk about the actual physical computer and the ports and the DVD drive and all these different things. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you today what are the monthly subjects and a little bit of detail about each one, so you have a better idea of what we're presenting for the whole year. Will it be recorded? Yes. It will be recorded. Every one of these training videos will be recorded. Is it free? Is there a fee? There is a fee, but this video is free and it's being posted in the public YouTube channel. It's also being posted in the members portal of SeriouslySmartTechnologies.com. The February event is going to be free to members only, so that video will be recorded and placed in the members portal for all members to have access to. And then the 10 events starting in March all the way through December will be available for a fee, and those will show up in your members portal based on your purchase of the training. Do I get CEUs? Well, we're not offering CEUs for the computer training series because it's not primarily related to the biofeedback that the majority of our members are a part of. And so for those of you who are interested in getting CEUs for your training, Seriously Smart Technologies is also offering our Seriously Smart Success Tour in 2017, as well as 12 individual training events that are going to be presented similar to this one. Each month there's going to be a training event that you can get CEUs for. So please check our website for those details. Now, moving into February, this is where it all begins. We're going to talk about the top 4 maintenance features or maintenance programs that you would run on your computer to keep things up to date and keep things running smoothly. Now, for those of you who know me or who have seen the Ron's Rules documents or the Ron's Rules previous videos, you know that I've been talking about these 4 things for many years. We're going to go into detail about Windows updates because over the course of, we'll say, the past 20 years, Windows updates have changed. And there's a lot of different things regarding this subject because you know, some of you don't go online very often, if at all, with your high performance computers, and then you try to upgrade some software and may have some problems because Windows updates aren't functioning correctly. So we're going to go into all kinds of different details about Windows updates, how to set them up to run automatically, and there's different ways to do that, but then also to check them periodically on your own or to run them completely manually. And there's different nuances with each operating system, like Windows 7 or Windows 10, that you're going to want to know about. So we're going to share all that information with you in February. Now, the next 3 items are really actually pretty easy to use, but many people neglect to use them to run these processes. And we're going to show you why they're so important. We're going to talk about disk cleanup and registry cleanup. Those are 2 pretty easy programs to run. But then when it goes into the hard drives and defragmenting, there's some common mistakes out there in the computer world, and we want to let you know what those are. And especially when it comes to solid-state drives, you don't defragment a solid-state drive, but you do have an optimization process. And so we're going to talk to you about that. Since more and more computers today in 2017 and going forward are in the solid-state drive type of a hard drive. So we're going to go into all those details about defragmenting and optimizing in this segment as well. And that's how we're gonna talk about in February. So we're going to move on now to March. And in March, we're going to talk about security software basics. Security has been a big issue in the computer world and in the internet world and so forth. So we got to talk a lot about what kinds of different malicious software are out there and what kind of protection you can have against those. And so we're going to discuss lots of different things about antivirus software, the do's and don'ts. Should you run one? Should you run more than one? Are there different things that could be problems that arise? And then, how would you address those problems? We're going to talk about virus removal and being able to do some of the basic steps if you ever have any activity that it looks a little suspicious. So we're going to share all that information with you in March. Now moving on to April, we're going to talk about computer cleaning and care. We're going to get into spills and chills. Spills are when you have liquid near your computer and whoops, your elbow hit the glass and next thing you know, you find liquid all over your laptop. So how do you deal with that? What is the first thing you do, and how fast do you need to react? What do you do after the fact? And what if there's a problem because of it? How do you deal with it? Who do you send your computer out for repair to? Things like that. We're going to discuss chills, or in other words, cold temperatures. Some of you travel. Some of you leave your computers in your car overnight. Should you do that? What kind of effect would it have on your computer? And do you need to bring it up to room temperature before you turn it back on? There's some ins and outs with that. Maybe moisture issues with as your temperature changes, things like that. We're going to talk about airflow and how important it is to have airflow underneath your laptop and then on your keyboard as well, and about blocking the vents. And then as far as airflow, as you have airflow going through your computer, it also creates dust situations. And so how do you deal with dust when it comes to caring for your high performance expensive laptop? It's really important to listen to these kinds of little tips and tricks, because really your equipment is expensive and we want you to have a long life on your computers, especially ours. We love so much to hear when a person calls us and says, hey, it's time for me to get a new computer. My quantum computer lasted me 10 years or 12 years or 5 years even. In today's world, getting 5 years life out of a computer is a great thing. And so we would love to hear you have a longer life on your computer. And things like these are where you're going to get that long life on your computer. Temperature and thermal paste, we're going to talk about that because that relates to the opposite end of the temperature, heat. So when we talk about thermal paste, we're going to let you know what that is, where it's found inside your computer. You need to actually replace that every couple of years. So that's one of the maintenance steps on laptops and desktop computers as well. Grounding is where we talk about power incoming to your computer and grounding the hardware, grounding the physical computer itself. We're also going to talk about grounding you, the user, because many of us have static discharge and we get shocks when we touch things, and so we want to make sure that you're grounded as well so you don't cause any damage to your computer. Cleaners. When we get into cleaners, we're going to discuss what proper cleaners to use for your screen, for your keyboard and your deck, your touchpad, all the way around your computer, and how to actually clean your computer in a proper way. We're going to discuss DVD drives. DVD drives, a lot of people don't realize that when you leave a DVD in your drive, it causes an effect on your computer. So you want to make sure you hear what we're going to say about DVD drives. And the fact of the matter is, too, DVD drives on computers now, moving forward, are basically going to be a thing of the past. So how do you deal with that? What if you have trainings that are on DVDs right now? How are you going to be able to access those on a new computer that doesn't have a DVD drive? So that's where all the ports come in on the side of your computer. We're going to discuss the different ports, how you use them, what kind of different devices you use them for and with, and so that's going to be a fun thing because every computer's a little bit different. So we're going to discuss also some of the new options that are coming out on new computers this year. So moving on then to the next month, in May, we're going to be talking about programs and driver updates. So a lot of people ask us these questions about their Adobe programs or their Java programs. Why does it keep popping up on the side there and telling me I need to update it? Should I update it? And how often should I do this? So we're going to discuss that. We're going to get into graphics drivers and other devices on your computer. Should you upgrade the drivers and maybe the software? Wireless and Bluetooth. We're going to get into those devices, how to use them, and also should you update those drivers as well. Browsers such as Internet Explorer, Firefox, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, and Safari are all pretty popular browsers, and we're going to be talking about them in this segment in May because of them having the ability to be updated. And we want you to know about how you would do that and if you need to do that and when. And then we're going to talk about Skype because Skype is now a Microsoft program, and there's some little adjustments there with Skype, and so Skype users will want to pay particular attention to this part as Skype has changed over the course of the last year or two. Now moving on into June, we're going to get into software, the best practices in software. So some of these segments are going to kind of run together a little bit, and they may seem like repetition, but we're going to discuss different aspects in each of these segments. So we're going to get into shareware and junkware, and we're going to show you examples of these through video, and we're going to show you about toolbars and what are they, how do they get there, and what do you do about them? Are they safe? Are they are they there for a reason? Should you use them, or is there an alternative? So we'll get into that in some good detail. Then we're going to talk about driver update programs, kind of going back to last month's segment. But in here, we're going to talk about that from a use standpoint and using those driver update programs. Are they a wise choice? And if you have them and you didn't know how they got there, what do you do about it? How do you take care of that? We're going to discuss how to properly and carefully uninstall programs off your computer. Now, so many people get advice from friends and different contacts that tell you to go in and remove any unnecessary software or software you haven't used in a while, or if you don't know what it is, remove it. There's some truth to that, but there's also some care that needs to be taken. And so we're going to show you how to do that carefully and safely so you don't damage something that is really part of the function of your computer. So that's going to be what we're going to discuss in June. Now moving on to July, we're going to have a segment on internet and the best practices for using the internet. So we get this question practically daily. Which browser should I use? Which one's the best one? Which one's the safest browser? And why should I use this one over that one? And so forth. Now, some of us use more than one browser for different purposes, so we'll discuss that. We'll talk about how do you adjust the settings in these browsers and what's going to be some of the safest practices to use, because security is important these days, especially when you're using the internet for purchasing, maybe for banking, things like that. So you want to really be careful with how you have your browsers set up. We're going to share that with you. We're going to talk about some of the social media sites out there and some of the don'ts when it comes to that. There are do's and don'ts with everything, as you know, but we're more concerned about the don'ts because those are the things that could get you into some computer trouble. We're going to talk about home pages and how to set them up, how to change them back to the original homepage that you may have had because something mysteriously changed your homepage. We're going to discuss the address bar and search engines and how to use one over the other when you're searching for a specific website. We're going to talk about some of the different things regarding the search engines as well, like Google, Yahoo, Ask. There's different search engines that are out there, and there's some very positive things for using search engines, but there's sometimes when you wouldn't want to use them. So we'll share all that information with you in July. Now moving on to August, we're going to have a discussion about passwords. Now, passwords are kind of a tricky thing because so many people like to use one password for everything. Is that really a proper technique or a safe practice to get into? Our memories are a little difficult sometimes, especially when we have so much to put into our brains that, which password did I use for this site and which one did I use for that site? So we'll get into some details there to help you to determine what is the best process to use for your internet use regarding passwords. And then how to save them properly. We're going to talk about protecting them. We're going to discuss how to avoid hacks and what we like to call electronic robbery. We're all subject to this, whether we know it or not, and we're using the internet. So we want to really be sure that we're doing our best to have the safest practice as we use the internet, specifically with regards to passwords. So this is a whole segment devoted on passwords and security. So that's what we're going to discuss in August. In September, we're going to go into filing. Now, this is one of my favorite things to discuss because I'm kind of a stickler for filing in the appropriate place. Now, we're going to show you things about the desktop and about the My Documents folder. We're going to discuss the libraries and why you would want to file certain things in certain places. Some people like to file things away in hidden folders, but there's good and bad to that. So we'll discuss those things in September. In addition to the main hard drive on your computer or the main storage place on your computer, some of you have computers that have more than one hard drive, like a data drive. And so we're going to discuss data drives, how to access them, how to use them properly. And that has some different things in there regarding computer speeds and different things like that. So we're going to discuss those in detail. Then we're going to talk about portable data storage, like flash drives and media cards, portable hard drives. There's lots of different opportunities you have for saving files in one place or in multiple places to have your filing in an organized, safe way. So then we're going to get into two more things. We're going to discuss network attached storage devices, like the one that I use. And then we're going to discuss, how that could be a benefit to you. And then the cloud. Now, so many people are talking about the cloud these days. What is the cloud? And is it the right place? So you want to have a good understanding of that, especially when you're dealing with sensitive information like passwords, like we talked about before, or maybe important documents. Or how about things like your client data if you're a practitioner? So we're going to discuss that and discussion about filing and what are the best practices. So moving on now to October, my favorite month of the year, we're going to talk about printers. Now, printers, again, is another whole segment devoted on this subject. And the reason is because we get so many calls about printer problems, and printers have been around forever. And, when you get a printer, you get a disc with it usually. So is that the proper way to set up a printer when you first buy one? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some better ideas to get a better printer experience. And then we're going to talk about updating the drivers and updating the software. Is it necessary? And how often and when should you do it? Switching settings. Now, so many people don't know how to get into the utilities appropriately and change settings. So we're going to have a couple of different options because, there's a million different printers out there. So we're going to show you a couple of principles in some printer utilities to kind of give you an idea of some of the things you can do, why you would want to do it, when you would want to do it. And so that way, some of you who have some, really unique situations with regards to what you want to print, we're going to show you how to have a better printing experience. And then some of the different problems and solutions that come up with regards to printers, printer errors, and some of you don't even have a printer, yet you find printer errors on your computer. So we're going to discuss that, why that happens, and what to do about it. And that's going to be our discussion in October. Moving into November, we're going to discuss backup and restore. Now, when we get into this subject, we have the Windows Backup program that is on Windows-based computers, and we're going to talk about some of the different changes that have led us up to and including Windows 10. Then we're going to discuss the mainstream computer companies, and some of them have a laptop backup software or desktop backup software where you have to create your own backup disks, things like that. And we're going to discuss what they are and maybe, discuss some of the details so that you can decide, do I want to use the backup software that's on the computer there, or do I want to use the Windows backup? Or maybe I want to use a third-party software like Norton's Ghost or Acronis. If you really want to get into one of those kinds of programs, they can be really helpful. And then we also have another subject talking about the cloud again, about regarding backup software on the internet. So we're going to get into this Carbonite, Google Drive, OneDrive. There's lots of different options there. And so we'll discuss a couple of those and show you some advantages and disadvantages there. Then we're going to get into the flip side of it, where we've already talked about backup. Now what about restoring things? Now restoring files is one thing, but restoring your computer image or restoring your operating system is a completely new thing. And some people have gotten into trouble doing this and lost their files. So we're going to discuss some of the different ins and outs of backup and restore, so that you have a better understanding of how this all works and maybe what option you might want to choose should you decide to do one of these types of backup and restore functions. So that's going to be our whole discussion in November. In December, we're at the end of our training series, and here we're going to talk about some basics. We have these things called blue screen of death errors and other critical errors that show up on our computers. And what are they? What happens when it arrives? What do you do? How do you deal with it? So many times we have people call us and they'll tell us about this blue screen error that they received, yet they can't tell us about anything that was actually on that screen. Now that screen is very important for a technician to be able to determine what happened and what to do about it. So we're going to discuss that and give you some ideas of what to do when that happens. And hopefully that never happens to you, but for those of you who've had it happen, you realize, hey, that's a time when you really kind of are surprised, and it happens at the most inopportune moment. And so what do you do when that happens? And we're going to get into that in some good detail there. And flash drives, how do you safely remove them? Is it important to do that? And so we're going to discuss that, because I'm a prime example of what not to do, because so many times I get in such a hurry, I just pull the flash drive out and then I actually corrupt the files that are on my drive. And I've found myself in a really bad spot sometimes when I've maybe just worked 10 hours on a Ron's Rules presentation and I just destroyed it because I didn't safely remove my flash drive. So that has happened to me before, and I'm sure some of you are saying, hey, I've had that happen to me too. So we're going to discuss how to safely remove your hardware. Then we're going to get into something that comes up quite a bit as your computer ages. As things start to get older, you notice some things start to get slower. And so some people give you advice that you might want to upgrade your memory or upgrade your hard drive. So we're going to give you the ins and outs of that, because sometimes it's an advantage and other times it's not. So especially when it comes to upgrading your hard drive, there's a lot involved. So we'll share with you all that detail. And that pretty much covers all the things that we've got planned at this point. Now there's going to be some new things that are going to be arriving, because many of you are going to email us additional questions as we go through. We've done this before, so we know that we can't cover 100% of everything that's out there. So some of you will ask us questions, and we'll recommend that you email us those questions so that we can develop a nice, well-rounded section at the end of December where we can bring up all those additional questions of things that are on your minds or things you've experienced and you want to know the answers to. And then we'll be able to present them here at the end of our December webinar. John and I are going to be working on these different subjects each month and putting a video presentation together for each of you. It will launch at the first of the month. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, those videos will show up in your members portal for those ones that you've purchased. As each one of these come up, expect that at the first of the month you'll be seeing a new video in there, and that will be our training for the month. So we hope that this has been a very enlightening video to explain to you what our next 11 training sessions are going to be for the 2017 Ron's Rules. And so at this point, we'd like to say class dismissed. And so please join us for one or all of these upcoming 2017 classes on Ron's Rules of Computer Maintenance. Thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you on all of the future 11 events. Thank you.